Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on July the 10th in the year of our Lord 2026, and I've got a lot of great information for you tonight. So let's go ahead and click on Murtech on Rumble and take us over here to my Rumble channel. And let's slide down here. This is the episode we're going over, my live stream episode 1974. Let's go ahead and click into that. And let's slide down. Pause that. Looks like Viper Senior has joined us and Glow has joined us. Thank you very much. I'll get right back to you, okay? Let me come down here and click the Show More button. Expand out the description box. We have information from Dan Bongino, Black Conservative Perspective, Doug in Exile, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do need to give some shout outs here to Zara Frey, just started following my channel. Zarep Frey just started following my channel. Team Marie 01123 just started following my channel. Data 12 just started following my channel. O Kalunus just started following my channel. Fornell1001 just started following my channel. Rita 0 just started following my channel. Kate Ann just started following my channel. And CMMNSNSEAPPR just started following my channel. Okay, so thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Hold on one second. All right. Good. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Good night. Hey, give me a hug. All right. Okay. You going? All right. Good night, sweetie. Oh, you gonna scratch my back too? Oh, thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. Good job. See you in the morning. Love you. Yeah. Don't let the bed bugs bite. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1973. Susie Poll 2016, Viper Senior, and Cotton Ball 31 commented on my episode 1973. Debbie BS commented on my extra 756A, and Debbie BS commented on my extra 756B. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my video and your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I definitely appreciate your support. All right, so let me give this a thumbs up. And Viper Senior says, good evening, fellow patriots. Where we go one, we go all. Rumble number 4 tonight. Thank you very much, Viper Senior. Okay, well, let's get into this. Dan Bongino is going to talk about Charlie, episode 2550. Let's get into this and see what he has to say.
Let's go. So like I said, today's show is going to be a little personal. If that's not for you, that's okay. This show for me is more about you enjoying yourself and wanting to be here. Some of you may say I'm tapping out, but that's all right. We really need to ground ourselves again. There are times when it becomes important to get out there and touch grass a little bit and remember our role in this amazing God's gift universe that he's given us. This is one of those times. With everything going on with Charlie, and we're going to let that process play out. As I said, there is a process in that country, and every U.S. citizen, no matter how morally inept or is entitled to a process, we're going to let that play out. But that doesn't take away from reflecting on what we lost as a movement. Charlie Kirk was a man with his flaws like anyone else, and no one who knew him will tell you any different. But I always tell you I'm a transactional guy, and if Charlie Kirk was a spreadsheet, Charlie's positives were net present value 20 million. There is almost no one Charlie interacted with that he did not make their lives better. I want to show you a little bit of a tribute Andrew and the Turning Point team put out about Charlie yesterday. You can go, I actually reposted it on X and watch the whole thing. This is a little bit over like a minute and a half of it though. But I just want you to remember with all this going on that we lost someone who was special. And sometimes we need to go back and celebrate what he stood for, because I believe it'll motivate another generation of young patriots out there to take what Charlie gave us and run with it. Listen, I don't know why God does what he does. I'm not smart enough. Neither are any of you. No one has an IQ smart enough to understand why the Creator chose this path. But maybe in Charlie's death, there'll be 1,000 or 10,000 new Charlies coming up. And I'll show you what I mean with a text in a minute. First, I just want you to watch this. You need to see this. This is what we lost. Love you, Charlie. Check this out.
13 years ago, I was in a car driving to Rockford, Illinois, and this journey started. It was June 5th, 2012. No money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing. Started to barnstorm Illinois and in the Midwest, speaking at every possible Tea Party rally I could. That was the garage that we literally started in Lamont, Illinois. I had burning desire. Looking back at it, I wanted to grow this thing more than anything imaginable. I poured every part of my being into this.
He was 18, no money, no map, only a call from God.
My political journey was in the midst of the Obama craze in Chicago. As someone who is generally conservative, I realized this generation, millennials, is going to be the most progressive generation in history if we don't do something about this.
Only in America can a young man with a dream change the world.
So I go to college campuses and there's a lot of error. We're all sinners. We are all live in error. We as Christians are called to go into the public arena to correct error with truth. I'm far more interested in what God wants of me than what I want from God. But sometimes the difficult road is the way that you should configure your life. For every single one of you, there are a couple thousand students that wish they could speak out like you do. And courage is a choice. It takes no skill to be courageous. You might come up to the microphone and say, Charlie, I don't know my talent. I don't know my skill. The cool thing about being courageous is you just have to say, I choose to be courageous. You are doing something that is bigger than you.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
I see you guys in the chat. I'm not crying, you're crying. Someone put, who's cutting onions over here? You know, with all this chaos going on, God does things for a reason only God understands. He's omnipotent, omniscient. We're just not capable of understanding why the divine creator chose this path. We're not. But I said to you yesterday, I remember vividly Charlie's memorial service. And ladies and gentlemen, I believe there's a spirit realm that God has chosen, the second creation, where whatever substance we're made of that gives us a soul, that enables us to say, I think, therefore I am. It goes on after this material body decays. If there's a spirit realm that's made its way onto this rock we call Earth in Arizona, it was there at Charlie's service. When, what's her name? Carrie Job, she's a faith-based singer. When they were singing that song, I'm telling you, I've never experienced anything. I looked at someone from the FBI who was with me that day, and she looked back at me, and we both thought the same thing. Like, if there's a spirit realm, we're in it right now on Earth. And I was having a brief conversation afterwards with the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. And we both said the same thing, that he's just not replaceable. But like that movie Moneyball, where you can't replace a great baseball player because you maybe don't have the assets to do it, maybe you can replace them in composite. So we're never going to have another Charlie. But maybe we can have the effect Charlie had with 1,000 Charlies or 10,000 Charlies. So I don't like publishing texts, good or bad. However, I've been so distraught about the focus getting off Charlie. You go on X and it's all about other people. And I'm not bringing that up. It's not worth it. I just want everyone to remember that this guy was special and may have inspired 10,000 or 100,000 more Charlie Kirks. So I called up the team and I said, would you guys mind if I put these texts out there? Because I think it's important you understand who Charlie really was. And they said, yeah, go ahead. We'd actually like that. This first is a text from my nephew, Uncle Danny. Focus. You just said focus. Uncle Danny, I love Charlie Kirk. All right. Do you think one day you can get me to meet him? This may be one of our 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 little Charlie Kirks. It's my nephew. Amazing kid. So I sent it to Charlie. Here's the text. That's a screenshot. I said, hey, man, this is from my 12-year-old nephew. Responds, that's amazing. Happy to meet him anytime. Exclamation point, exclamation point. That's just who Charlie was. That's just who Charlie was. He doesn't know my nephew at all. It didn't matter. That's just who Charlie was. I want to show you one more, but before you guys put it up, I want to give you just some backstory on this next text because it seems a little confusing. It's a screenshot of a text from Charlie to Paula that Charlie had sent me, my wife. Charlie sends me this screenshot. Why is he sending me a screenshot of him texting Paula? Short version of it is we had decided the last minute during Donald Trump's last inauguration, at the last minute, to go up and do the show from the Rumble studio. So we didn't tell anyone we were going to be in D.C. Some of you remember that. Then we were like, you know what? We should be there. It's history. I don't know. It was like a day or two before. That's why we did the show from the Rumble studio. There's no way to fix it in time. So again, short version of this. We're coming home that night. It was a really long day. It was cold. Those of you remember it. But it was such a wonderful day. Like we had finally gotten some measure of justice after everything they'd done to the president, to our movement. He was back in office, sworn in. And we're walking by the Turning Point inaugural ball. And my wife says to me, Paula, she goes, gosh, I really wish we would have gotten an invite. I said, well, I told Charlie we weren't coming up because it was such an amazing experience. So I called Charlie, I don't know, a couple of days later. We used to talk about a lot of different things, not to oversell, but we talked a lot about radio, podcasting, candidates, everything. And I said, man, Paula's like a little upset we didn't go to the inaugural ball. Folks, it was not a thing. I promise. I was just like, honestly, I was just making a little bit of small talk with him at the end to celebrate how good the inaugural ball was for him. It was like the event to go to. He's like, I can't believe we didn't invite you. I go, Charlie, I told you we weren't going up there. I promise it's not a thing. He could not get this out of his head. Charlie was so upset that he thought my wife had was excluded for some reason. We didn't think that. I said, Charlie, just let it go. It's not a thing. I promise. I almost regretted bringing it up. I don't know, maybe like an hour goes by. Charlie sends me this. This is a screenshot of the text. This is an actual text to Paula. Hey, Paula, it's Charlie Kirk. Who's this guy? I want to apologize to you and Dan regarding our inaugural ball. Totally, completely unnecessary. It was my fault, not his. I didn't even know you guys were in town, and I wrongly assumed you were staying at home. He didn't wrongly. I told him I was staying at home. You've done so much for me in Turning Point. I feel terrible for this oversight. Please accept my apology. We have nothing but immense respect for you and Dan. If there's anything I can do to make this right, please let me know. I'm sorry, I think it was Paula that sent me this, and he said, that's who Charlie was. It was my fault. I was just making small talk. But Charlie was so concerned about making everybody in a room, including Paula, my wife, even if it was my mistake, feeling like they were part of his inner circle, that he couldn't let it go by. Folks, I've never shown that before, and I'm really always hesitant to do it. But I think it's important, again, with everything going on, that we ground ourselves, that we go outside. I'm not talking about, touching earth and electron transfer. I'm talking about going out and touching grass, because that's the gift God gave us, this rock called earth. And when you sit there touching grass, sometimes at night you start to see the stars creep out and you realize the majesty of the universe and that God gave it all to us. And we're a piece of it. All of us are a critical, important piece. God made sure every single one of you were born for some reason you may not understand. Charlie was born for a reason. It was a huge reason. And Charlie was taken from us for a reason we don't understand either. But I don't ever want you to forget that he was still a man like everyone else with feelings, but he was a special guy. I know a lot of people in this business, a lot. Some of them are very close friends. It's a small circle of people who run in this business. There's a lot of really bad people. You're starting to see that now. We don't want to focus on that today. There's a lot of really bad actors. But there are a lot of really good people too. I'm going to tell you, man, Charlie Kirk was the best of us. He was immensely gifted. And what he was doing was not a shtick. It was not some act. He didn't care about cable news appearances or anything. He would take them if it advanced the cause. Charlie cared about truth. Charlie cared about this American project. Charlie cared about liberty and freedom. And most importantly, Charlie cared about taking that message and evangelizing crowds about it. Charlie put himself in real danger. Folks, I don't want to focus on anything down or macabre today at all. But Charlie knew he was in a lot of danger. A lot of us do. Charlie still took a lot of risks because it mattered to him.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. Now this video will be in my daily news wrap up, so you'll get to see more of this if you'd like to. And he's right about Charlie Kirk. I mean, Charlie really was a great influence on people, young people, the brainwashed college students. It's amazing. And the thing of it is, the reason for his death is because his words were always twisted and propagandized by the mainstream media and these leftist deep swamp rats. If people really knew what Charlie stood for and what Charlie said, that never would have happened. The only reason that it happened is because of the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media and the deep state rats. Okay? And that's another reason why I share this information out, so that people can have the opportunity to hear the truth. All right, so let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from the Dan Bongino show. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, jumping back here, and we got GP Wolco 01 and Viper Senior and SheB63 and Debbie BS joining us. Anybody else want to join in the chat? Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what podcasters you like, so I can include them here in my daily news wrap up and daily news update. Okay, Black Conservative Perspective. CNN analyst delivers brutal career-ending warning to Trump deranged Democrats. Okay. Let's take a listen to this and see what it's all about.
I don't know.
What are the 5 Grosse Points cities?
Well, look, I'm not here to answer a quiz. I'm here to say that I'm going to fight for the people of Detroit. I'm going to fight for my constituents.
And Grosse Pointe
and all of the Grosse Points and all of Taylor and every part of the 13th district.
Can I just do this real quick? Grosse Pointe Park, Grosse Pointe Woods, Grosse Pointe Farms, and Grosse Pointe Shores. Okay. Right. On your campaign filings, it says occupation. Yours says United States government. Aren't you employed by the people on the United States?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you fix that one. Okay, and finally, you're getting nailed with this one. The beagles. You abandoned the beagles, left them to die in their cages at your pharmaceutical
I love
testing.
animals. You look, and I just have one message to President Trump. Mr. Trump, open up the Goldie Haw Bridge. Mr. Trump, open up the bridge because Michigan needs it. The people of the United States need it. Michigan needs it for the commerce, for the jobs, for our economy. Mr. Trump, please open up the bridge immediately.
Okay, I'm going to stop that there. Now, this is another example of their lies. Trump has nothing to do with that bridge. That is maintained by the State Department of Transportation. Okay? There is no federal Department of Transportation that goes out that I'm aware of and builds bridges. Now, they may help financially, and there may be a crew that is under federal control, but as far as building a bridge, repairing a bridge, that belongs to the state. That's the state responsibility. Just like the train to nowhere in California. Okay? Trump has nothing to do with that.
So we got to talk about some bad news for Trump deranged Democrats who are facing primary challenges from radical left lunatics. Now, these individuals who are facing primary challenges are also radical left lunatics as well too. It's just that they're not radically left enough, right, for their party. And we have to talk about one Democrat in particular, Sri Thanadar, who has become a laughing stock in Congress, right? The foreign-born Indian Democrat out of Michigan, right? Who is trying his best to save his career by being as Trump deranged as possible. Yes, this individual is facing a primary challenge from his left because apparently the socialists, again, don't think that this Indian foreign Democrat is radically left enough. Take a look.
Representative Rashida Tlaib is backing a primary challenger against her fellow House colleague, Representative Sri Thanadar, in a rare dispute between members of the same congressional delegation. Tlaib is backing State Representative Donovan McKinney to oust Thanadar in the primary for Michigan's 13th district, representing the Detroit area. While unusual, Tlaib's decision is not surprising, given the icy relationship between Thanadar and Tlaib. The Michigan Congresswoman has consistently accused him of being an absent member, and the two have battled over the Israel-Hamas war since its start in 2023. Thanadar recently introduced articles of impeachment against President Donald Trump. Tlaib says, quote, "I am proud to have Donovan's back because I know he'll always have Michiganders' backs, and because I know when it comes to real representation, Michigan's 13th district deserves better." Despite opposition to his representation and lack of strong support from fellow Democrats, Thanadar has managed to hold on to his seat he won in the 2022 elections. He defeated 8 other Democratic primary candidates that year, including his current challenger, Adam Ollier. Ollier is back for round 3 after mounting a second unsuccessful run against the congressman last cycle. McKinney's endorsement from Justice Democrats, the progressive group that helped launch Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, could give him a significant boost in the race. Thanadar has proven he is not afraid to sink millions of his own personal fortune into his campaign and has defended his record online. Thanadar said in a statement, quote, "We've solved 3,000 cases and recovered over $3.7 million for constituents. That's why Detroit voted for me 7 times in a row, and that's why I know voters in the 13th will send me back to D.C. for my 3rd term."
And then we have Wesley Bell out of Missouri, right? The guy who replaced Cori Bush. You guys remember Cori Bush, the obese black Democrat woman who lost her seat, right? Last year, you guys remember her?
The wealthy should pay their fair share.
Yes, wealthy should pay their fair share.
What is a fair share? What percentage?
So you're saying that you're saying that they're paying their fair share is what you're saying?
No, I'm asking what percentage is a fair share?
Their fair share, the same, if a third of my money is going to taxes, then I think a third of their money should be going to taxes. Well, it does.
I'm trying to understand because you realize the effective tax rate on the poor is less than it is on the rich, right?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not the poor. I'm very close to that line, but I'm not the poor.
Okay, so the effective tax rate on the effective tax rate on the middle class is less than it is on the rich, correct? What fair share would you like to change the tax rate to on the wealthiest what percentage of Americans so it's a fair share?
So let's say the wealthy 1% could pay, let's say if they paid, let's just give them 45%.
Yeah, she's back. Okay, she is running again, and she's being backed by the communists because, again, apparently Wesley Bell is not far left enough for the communists.
If you can't stand up to Donald Trump and his allies, then how are you supposed to stand up for us if you can't stand up to them? Donald Trump don't know your name. And why sign up for a job when you're not willing to fight? If you're not willing to fight, move out the way, because I know some fighters. I know some union workers that are fighters that can replace you. I know some folk in Action St. Louis that can replace you.
Here's the new ad of Representative Wesley Bell in Missouri 1, features supporters saying he's leading the fight against Donald Trump.
He was our first ever progressive prosecutor. Wesley Bell. He helped over 2,000 nonviolent offenders avoid prison through criminal justice reform.
Now Wesley Bell is in Congress leading the fight against Donald Trump.
It's Bell who called for abolishing ICE
and voted to stop Trump's war in Iran. Bell says we should spend money on health care and not bombs.
There's nothing more annoying to me than AIPAC literally copy pasting our fucking policies and just straight up fucking lying to the good people in St. Louis. Okay? It's so, like, this should be illegal, man. Like, we're not even talking about FARA anymore. Like, this should be illegal. They just literally take a conservative congressional representative that they bought and paid for so that they would be a reliable vote on Israel, and they totally flip their worldview and their policies. Like, they're one step closer to having an AIPAC attack ad. Bell is insufferable, by the way. I know. He is such a nasty version of exact, literally AIPAC lying and claiming that they themselves are the actual progressive candidate. And when AIPAC can dump 30, 40 million into a fucking primary race all of a sudden, it doesn't matter, because most people are going to get barraged with those ads. And they're going to be like, okay, I'm just going to go vote for the progressive person, not realizing that the progressive person is not Wesley Bell. Wesley Bell is a fucking empty suit.
I'm going to go ahead and get it past this. I think you've got his point. And, you know, I think there's better adjectives to use or verbs to use than the F word.
Data analyst Harry Enton delivering a brutal warning for these Democrats that their time is up, right? That it is very, very, very likely that they're going to lose, and these radical left lunatics are basically going to be in Congress, right? Cori Bush is coming back, right? Which is, again, very unfortunate for this country. I mean, I guess for me, it's more content, right? But at the same time, I don't like this for our country, unfortunately. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
I've seen something like this before. You have to go back 16 years. Remember, it was that Republican Tea Party wave of 2010. I would argue the Democratic version of it is a new Tea Party, but it's on steroids. Why do I say that? Well, let's just start off with the fact, approve of their own party in Congress. Republicans in July of 2010, it was 52%, a very low percentage, but at least it was north of 50%. Look at where we are now with Democrats in terms of them approving their own members of Congress. It's actually below 50%. Democrats dislike their party more than Republicans did during the Tea Party wave of 2010. Just 47% of Democrats now approve of their own party in Congress. As I said, It's a new Tea Party, but it's a Tea Party on steroids.
And we're seeing the impact it's having on some Democratic incumbents.
Absolutely the case. You know, if you look at the number of Democratic incumbents, House incumbents who have gone down to defeat, it's actually higher in the House than it was back in 2010. House incumbents who lost primaries for Republicans back in 2010, it was 1, 2. You can count it on one hand. But in 2026 so far, it's already 5. It's already 5. You have to use up all the digits on your one hand. It's 5 so far, even if you include Lisa Murkowski going down to defeat in the 2010 Senate primary. Of course, she then went on to win as a write-in candidate in the fall. And you include the Senate. That only gets you to 3. Still, we're dealing with more defeats right now in Congress for Democrats, those Democratic incumbents, than you even saw during the Tea Party wave for Republicans back in 2010.
And the prediction markets think it might get even worse.
It could get even worse. In fact, it's likely to get even worse. So if you look at the Kalshi prediction market and the chance that 6 House Democrats go down to defeat, lose their primary in 2026, this number has consistently over the last week or so been hovering 80, 90%. And when we talk about history books, the history books, right? If in fact 6 House Democrats went down to defeat in 2026, it would be by far, it would be the largest number in a post-redistricting cycle for Democrats. And get this, over 50 years. That's why I got this picture of the Tea Party on your screen right now, because you know what? It's 250, but also it's a new Tea Party for Democrats.
I was just in Boston. I saw where this all took place. All right, when we're talking about some of the specific races where incumbents might be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of races where they might be in trouble. How about Missouri 1, right? There's a possibility. How about a Michigan 13? That's a real possibility in terms of a House Democrat going down to defeat. And then in Connecticut 1 as well, another real possibility. And this is just what we've been seeing over and over and over again. We have been seeing that these incumbents have been going down to defeat, and it looks like there are going to be plenty more, at least if you listen to the Kalshi prediction markets, where people put their money where their mouths are.
Could be in a story.
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. Now, just because the incumbents are being replaced, I wish there were a lot more Republican rhino incumbents that are going to be replaced. But we'll have to see what happens in November. I'm saying if everything is on the up and up in these elections, or more towards the up and up, the Democrats will not be favorable in this election coming up. All right, let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Black Conservative Perspective. This is a video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, jumping back here. Okay. Anybody else want to join us in the chat? I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, Doug in Exile. Trump demands Supreme Court rehearing on birthright citizenship. I don't blame him. Listen to this. It's disgusting. Okay.
The Supreme Court.
You won't believe this.
Trump makes a very rare move, asking the Supreme Court to reverse their ruling on birthright citizenship. We'll give you all the details on it, let you know how likely it is to happen. But first, let's get to Trump's initial statement. This is from SCOTUS Wire, the Supreme Court Wire. President Trump has indicated that the United States will seek a hearing of the Supreme Court's ruling on birthright citizenship. Rule 44 allows 25 days to seek a rehearing. So the rule exists. It's almost never been gone through. It requires the support of at least one justice from the majority and is rarely granted. So I think we might have an Alito in the majority who would do it, but it would have to be granted, I believe, by Chief Justice Roberts. Signs and billboards are being put up all over southern border and Mexico, advertising birthright citizenship with delivery starting at $4,000.
This Texas hospital is advertising on the Mexico side of the southern border that they will have your baby in Texas for $4,000, therefore $4,000 for American citizenship, thanks to the Birthright Citizenship Act, because that is how they buy votes. This baby that's paid $4,000 to come into this country can vote for president, can run for president, can change the future of this country. Therefore, they're dictating who can be Americans if you can pay $4,000.
Guys, that's a payment to become an American citizen. It's a business now that it's John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. They said that it was okay. Likewise, similar signs going up all over the country. Billions of dollars will be illegally made by this scam, with citizenship going to anyone willing to pay. It will be, by far, the number one way of becoming a citizen. And then the entire family will be allowed to follow. This is our big statement on this, is that once birthright citizenship goes through, every illegal alien can plop a baby here and then secure themselves as the parents of that baby. This is not sustainable, says Trump. Nobody saw this coming. American citizenship is not for sale. In fact, that is a crime, and therefore the Supreme Court's ruling is wrong. I will be asking for a rehearing by the United States Supreme Court immediately. This makes that 5-4, 6-3 vote. It's hanging in the balance. People could change their mind based on this information Trump is providing. This miscarriage of justice will destroy America, and if they don't change their absolutely insane decision, thank you for your attention on this matter, President Trump. Here's more details on how it could happen. Here's the whole truth about the SCOTUS hearings. The Supreme Court has a power most people never heard about, the power to reconsider its own decisions, because Trump brought in new information about the billboards selling American citizenship for $4,000 a person. Petitions for rehearing at the Supreme Court are among the rarest procedural events in American law. After the Supreme Court issues a decision, the losing party may file a petition for rehearing under Rule 44 within 25 days. This is not another appeal. It is a request that the court reconsider its own judgment before it becomes final, which takes 25 days. The court almost always denies these petitions. The history of rehearing shows something more important. The court does not reopen cases simply because they're controversial, politically important, or have enormous consequences. Let me move on to more details here. This is more proof on the Chinese birthright tourism. 234,000 votes by U.S. citizens raised in China can swing 79 electoral votes. The Electoral College, 79. Can birthright citizenship control the presidency? 1 million Chinese babies are U.S. citizens being raised in China. 1 million babies born here on birthright tourism, taken back to China to be raised as communists. They can come back, by the way, and run for president because they're complete legal citizens, according to the Supreme Court. Not only that, but they didn't exactly come through America's front doors. They come in through Guam and have a baby over in Guam, then go back to China. And they're considered American. They're allowed to have American citizenship. Through Guam, through our ports, they jump over to Hawaii, have a kid, go back. This is the scam. Here's the states. Arizona, they only need 11,000 babies, Chinese baby voters. Georgia only needs 12,000. Wisconsin only needs 21,000. Nevada only needs 34,000. North Carolina only needs 75,000. And Pennsylvania only needs 81,000 to get enough votes to offset a Republican election. Here's Chip Roy. Watch out for the self-described conservative or MAGA leaders who are saying that they're now magically on top of birthright citizenship. I believe he's firing a shot at Rand Paul. Even before the Supreme Court botched it, it has been a problem for decades. And some of us bear the scars of fighting it and are fighting for change, literally as we speak. Yet many of the same leaders are not helping. Here's Sean Spicer. He says, after a Democrat group sued to prevent voters from proving they're actually citizens, the Supreme Court has agreed to take up this case. What case is that? The Supreme Court to decide whether states can impose proof of citizenship requirements on voting registration. This is the SAVE Act, guys. So now they're going to use this birthright citizenship rule to say, no, that goes against their rights as a citizen, and you can't do this SAVE Act. So they're going to try and say you can't force proof of ID anymore. That's Sean Spicer. Here's Ilhan Omar weighing in. She says, yes, reform the Supreme Court. She took this as a cue to get rid of the Supreme Court. Term limits she wants. Totally illegal, totally unnecessary. Expand the court. Totally illegal, totally unnecessary. Enforceable code of ethics. Totally illegal, totally unnecessary if it is coming from Congress. Congress, one of the most corrupt organizations in the world, is going to go and judge the Supreme Court. You have to perform ethics, jumping through hoops to us, turning your receipts into us. It's time we address corruption of the highest court. I believe Ilhan Omar should start with corruption in our houses of Congress. Here's the firearms policy. Second Amendment's coming to the Supreme Court. He said this is a Supreme Court case on AR-15s could hinge on their common use. Last week, the Supreme Court took up challenges to 2 assault weapons bans. Its decision could seriously limit the government's ability to ban certain guns. Good, because we have this little thing called the Second Amendment. Now, let me get in on a little more of the Save Act here, since we're on the subject, okay? Here's Thune. This is Stephen Moore. So Stephen Moore is Trump's big financial guy. You see him on More Money. He's a Wall Street Journal writer, Club for Growth founder. He's the economics guy. He says Thune is holding up at least 47 pieces of legislation, over 33 judicial appointments. He's passed the fewest bills in the modern era, and he won't force a talking filibuster. A talking filibuster is just a real filibuster. What kind of majority leader ignores what 85% of the American people want passed? Remove Thune. I'm only bringing this up because Stephen Moore, I've followed for 20 years. He's a very calm, quiet, measured guy. To me, if Stephen Moore is on something, it has a lot of credibility. And our last Supreme Court issue is plaintiffs seeking to invalidate the 2020 census have appealed their case directly to the United States Supreme Court as of right. So we are trying to overturn the census of 2020 because it's admittedly corrupt. The justices are required to hear the case either summarily or with full briefing and argument. I'll keep you guys posted on all this, and we'll let you know if there's any developments on the Supreme Court. As usual, you know you can find it right here on Doug in Exile.
All right. There you have it, folks.
Up at least 47 pieces of legislation.
Stop. Okay. This video does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. Subscribe to his channel on YouTube. Great information. I hope you give me a thumbs up too, though. Thune, I mean, he's going to be there. He's not up for re-election, but every 2 years they do vote for the leader in the House and the leader in the Senate. Each party, there's a minority leader and a majority leader. Thune happens to be the majority leader in the Senate. I pray wholeheartedly that these Republican rhinos in the Senate come to their freaking senses and vote this cork biter out. It's unbelievable how he is just ignoring the American people who he's supposed to be working for. Okay? I don't know what his game is. If he's getting money out of the table or whatever from someone or some organization, obviously voter fraud is good for him because he's a worthless piece of crap. All right, now that I've got that out of my chest, let's go ahead and jump back here and see what Wendy Bell has to say. They're watching. There we go. Let's check this out.
You know, I don't know if I've ever told you guys really about the...
Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened there, but let me go ahead and get her back. Okay. Let's try this again.
Guys, really about the thrown into radio story that I was back in 2019. Brooke and I, though we didn't know each other, had a mutual friend who was a radio host here in Pittsburgh. Very well-known guy. And he ended up developing some semblance of throat cancer and had issues and needed to go through some pretty intense and very painful therapy. And in the interim, he had asked, hey, I know you don't know radio, you've never done it, but would you ever consider helping me out and kind of being available for me when I'm having my treatment? And I was like, well, sure. I literally knew nothing about radio other than I'd spent the prior 20 years, 30 years, what have you, listening to Rush Limbaugh, right? And I had no grand illusions of what I was going to talk about. Like, I was a television news anchor and reporter. And in television news, the good old days, you were not supposed to talk about politics. It wasn't about your political views. It was about presenting the news. It's not like that anymore. So I kind of got thrown into it, right? And I remember Brock filled in the first day for me and ended up filling in a little bit more commonly as this other host needed more time off. And I'd get super annoyed because I relied on phone calls. I really didn't know what to talk about. I knew how I felt, but I really hadn't come completely out of the conservative closet. And I remember looking in because you could see on the board, all the lights would flash when your various lines were lit up. And as I came out as increasingly conservative and everybody was kind of getting wind of who I was and what I was doing, people would call. And some people loved the show and other people were liberals and they really wanted to bark at me and argue. And I remember the day that Brock stopped taking the phone calls. And it wasn't that long into us working together. And I was petrified. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, he literally, I could see him through glass and he would turn his back to me and wouldn't even look at me as we're coming up out of a commercial break. And I'm like, answer the phone, because he has to answer it, say whose name it is and where are they from, what do they want to talk about, and then I could take the call. He stopped taking the call. And I remember being so angry. Why are you doing this? What are you trying to do? And he said, you don't need to take the calls. Just talk. What? What do you mean? Just talk. You have a nice way of telling stories, and people are listening. Just talk. One of the scariest things I've ever done. And every single day, in front of this microphone for the monologue, I'll tell you, sometimes I have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. Most days, it hits me in the moment. Do you know how terrifying that used to be? But look at what we've done. Look at how we've grown. Look at how we've begun to think more critically. Think about the grace that you and I are going to have in the months and the years ahead when all of the stuff that you and I know we've been through unravels and comes out, and we are, for better or for worse, vindicated. There are going to be people in your life who are going to come to you and they're going to realize that they were wrong. And maybe they were mean. Maybe they were scared, but maybe they were nasty. Maybe they hurt you. And you knew you weren't wrong. You just wanted to talk and have a reasonable conversation, and they couldn't do it. This stuff is going to come out, ladies and gentlemen. All of it. And you and I are going to have to suck it up and decide who we want back in our lives. I made one of these epiphanies last weekend when I was visiting with my father in Southern California, and today happens to be the 2-year anniversary of my mom's death. And I will never forget 2 years ago today at 5:30 in the morning as I was getting ready for this show, my phone rang and it was Dad, and I knew what he was calling about. My mom had fallen. I'd flown out that Saturday. I'd spent Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We decided to take her off of life support. She wasn't coming back. And on that Wednesday morning, my dad gave me such grace. Wheats, he said. She's gone, honey. Mama's gone. And she is at peace. In just those 10 words, my father gave me permission to not cry and to instead feel peace. And sometimes I'm embarrassed to admit I've only cried a handful of times. I don't feel like it helps me. But while we were together this last weekend, going through Mom's clothes, packing up her curling brush, putting things to throw away in different areas and the ones we wanted to donate, we went out into the pool and just sat and talked. And something came up that I didn't know about. Something, a misunderstanding for 28 years that I didn't realize my mom and dad didn't understand about me. And they had it all wrong. And I was able to talk to my dad about it and uncover it and peel back the layers and go back in the calendar, back to the years to 1998, literally after coming home from my honeymoon and leaving California forever to follow Joe to Pennsylvania, where he was going to be a doctor. I had no idea about this misunderstanding that had deeply, deeply wounded my parents. And I didn't know. And so we're sitting in the pool, and I listen to my dad as he's telling me about this wound. And I listened, and he finished. And I said, Dad, that's wrong. That's not what happened. That's not what was said. That's not what was intended. Why didn't you ever say anything to me? Why did you wait 28 years? I could have solved this with Mom before she was gone. And he said, would you forgive me if I said I'm sorry? And it was I was the one who got to give the grace. The stuff that we talk about on this show, I think is really important. I don't have all the answers, but I know I don't like being deceived. I know we don't like being lied to. And I know there are a lot of guilty parties out there. But my hope for all of us is that maybe we get put in a position where we get to be the ones who give the grace. We'll get to say, I forgive you. It's over. Let's start fresh. If there's somebody in your life that you haven't reached out to in a while who hurt you, you're wounded, you have a choice. And if you so choose to open that door and have that meaningful conversation before it's too late, pack your grace. I think we're going to need a lot of it. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program. Okay. Harry Enton, my boyfriend. Well, at least for now. He's over the big screen, ladies and gentlemen, and he is flabbergasted. Is there a tea party going on in the Democratic Party? Oh, yeah. It's worse than that, or better, depending on how you look at it. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, let's get this up here. And this is why I like to share Wendy Bell. Because it's not really like a radio program, okay? It's not like a Rush Limbaugh. I mean, she gets personal. It's like sitting in her living room and talking with her and listening to her talk. Okay, so, you know, I know a lot of people like Wendy Bell, and I share her because of that. I know a lot of you like Wendy Bell, and you even watch her in the mornings or here in the afternoons, and then come back and listen to her again because she has such good stuff. But here we go. I've got it up past the commercial. Let's see what she's talking about here.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. You know, Brock and I have had many conversations about this. I said the other morning to him, I said it's interesting that as a, quote, MAGA Republican, as a conservative mom who believes in doing whatever we can to make America great again, for my kids, grandkids, yours, etc., I find it odd that I'm understanding and associating with the frustration and the ire of these Democratic socialists. We are diametrically opposed on how we view things politically, but we're both pissed off with the establishment. We're both tired of this big-footing idea that no matter what you and I vote for, the election is performative because some entity has already anointed the winner. I'm sorry, that's not America to me. That's not. And I understand the frustration of the Democrat socialists with the Democratic Party. I feel the same way with the rhinos. I'm so tired of it. We're done with you. Move along. It's time for new blood. Now, do I want Democrat socialists to be anywhere near our government? Hell no. But I get it. Harry Enton also is getting it. He's at the wall with his co-anchor or whatever, John Berman. And he's like, look, this whole vibe we're feeling in this primary season, and by the way, Tuesday, August 4th is a huge one upcoming, just to put on your mental radar. He's like, this incumbent Democrat vibe, them losing to political neophytes who are socialists. He's like, this is feeling a bit historic. Listen.
Summer, we have seen Democratic incumbents losing in primaries in ways we just haven't seen before. What, if any, historical precedent is there for this? With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. So if you squint a little bit,
yes.
I know this is somewhat unprecedented, but we've seen something a little bit like it before.
We have seen something like this before. You have to go back 16 years. Remember, it was that Republican Tea Party wave of 2010. I would argue the Democratic version of it is a new Tea Party, but it's on steroids. Why do I say that? Well, let's just start off with the fact, approve of their own party in Congress. Republicans in July of 2010, it was 52%, a very low percentage, but at least it was north of 50%. Look at where we are now with Democrats in terms of them approving their own members of Congress. It's actually below 50%. Democrats dislike their party more than Republicans did during the Tea Party wave of 2010. Just 47% of Democrats now approve of their own party in Congress. As I said, it's a new Tea Party, but it's a Tea Party on steroids.
And we're seeing the impact it's having on some Democratic incumbents.
Yes, we are, in fact, as they are about to continue. But look at this. No wonder they don't like their own party. The Democrats suck. I know, because so do the Republicans. You got a lot of bunch of like blowhards, right? Telling you about, oh, it's this and oh, it's that. And I'm like, well, what are you doing about it? It is your job. What are you doing? Don't come out here to the Capitol steps and get clicks and sound bites. Figure something out. Do one of something. And they can't. We're going to get into why the Save America Act is still stalling. I think all of us know. It's related to money. There's Republican senators getting paid by pro-immigration groups, PACs, and they've gotten a hell of a lot of dough. And by the way, some of that dough they can use however they want. So interesting. Audio soundbite number 2, Harry says, you know what? How many incumbents did the Tea Party boot from the office in 2010 versus how many Democrat incumbents so far have been replaced this primary season? If you thought the Tea Party was an upheaval in the Republican Party, what's going on the left is twice as much. Listen.
If you look at the number of Democratic incumbents, House incumbents who have gone down to defeat, it's actually higher in the House than it was back in 2010. House incumbents who lost primaries for Republicans back in 2010, it was 1, 2. You can count it on one hand. But in 2026 so far, it's already 5. It's already 5. You have to use up all the digits on your one hand. It's 5 so far, even if you include Lisa Murkowski going down to defeat in the 2010 Senate primary. Of course, she then went on to win as a write-in candidate in the fall. And you include the Senate, that only gets you to 3. Still, we're dealing with more defeats right now in Congress for Democrats, those Democratic incumbents, than you even saw during the Tea Party wave for Republicans back in 2010.
And think about the most salacious part of all of this right now, the one that's the most juicy. Graham Plattner still hasn't withdrawn. He hasn't filed the paperwork to no longer be officially the Democratic candidate for Senate in May. He hasn't, and he's got until Monday. But really, what's his incentive right now? What's his incentive to do something of benefit to the establishment that bigfooted him and basically gave 72% of the voters who voted for him the shaft? Why am I playing ball with you? You're exactly what I ran up against. And your behavior further underscores the need for this Democratic Tea Party experience. Finally, look into your crystal ball, Harry. Shake your magic 8-ball. What are the prediction markets saying about how incumbent Democrats still to go in these primaries might do the rest of this season? Uh-oh.
it could get even worse. In fact, it's likely to get even worse. So if you look at the Kalshi prediction market and the chance that 6 House Democrats go down to defeat, lose their primary in 2026, this number has consistently over the last week or so been hovering 80, 90%. And when we talk about history books, the history books, right? If in fact 6 House Democrats went down to defeat in 2026, it would be by far, it would be the largest number, in a post-redistricting cycle for Democrats. And get this, over 50 years.
Over 50 years. And you know who they're looking at as being the one who's going to come back and foil the quote unquote incumbent? Cori Bush, part of the Democratic Socialists of America in St. Louis, Missouri, wants to unseat the guy who booted her in 2024, Democrat Representative and incumbent Wesley Bell. If that happens, that will be 6 House Democrat incumbents to lose to people who represent the Democrat version of the Tea Party. Do you think the establishment is paying attention? Because there's this weird side of me that almost wishes Graham Plattner would stay in it and beat Susan Collins so we can be done with that individual. We're going to talk more about that when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program. Maine's Rhino Senator Susan Collins. Well, she can thank Graham Plattner for her own political survival. Some polls have her losing to whomever his prospective replacement is. Next.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I guess that's possible. But at any rate, let me go ahead. I'm going to pause this here, but this will be in my daily news wrap-up, so I hope you join me there. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. This is the video I shared with you. I've given her a thumbs up. I'm following her channel. I hope you do the same thing for me. All righty, let's jump back here and let me copy these chats. Slide down here. Boom. Into a comment, so it will be a permanent part of this video. All right, there we go. And let's jump back up here and let me remind you folks that these videos that I've shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer. I have the links to the videos in the description box, as well as the links to the producer's channel. The videos that I've shared with you here are videos that I have posted on Murtech.com or shared on Murtech.com. And all these videos here do come directly from the producer. You can click on the producer's name, like Steve Deace, click on that, and my goodness, it takes you right to Steve Deace's channel on Rumble. Isn't that amazing? It's kind of like magic. In fact, I talked with Harry Potter about this, and this is what we came up with. But at any rate, I do have over 40 videos here of no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. The kind of information that you're not going to get from the mainstream media. Now, I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do so, and that's why I've put together my Murtech Daily News Wrap-Up playlist. It says I have 22 videos in here, probably about 10 or 11 hours worth of information. Here's the Wendy Bell radio video at the top of the list. Then we're going to jump into Dan Bongino. Then we have some X22 report information on the fringe, We the People News, and we know, Steve Deace Show, Paul Joseph Watson. And folks, give me a chat. Let me know in the chat box if there is a particular channel that you think I should include here in my daily news wrap-up. Because I want to get out great information that people like to hear, information that is no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. So help me out here. Give me some suggestions in the chat box. I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, and with that being said, go ahead and take a break. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes so I can get this set up in Rumble Studio. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.